And here we are once again, 8 o'clock. Hi there. Welcome back once again, everybody, to, as what we call it, Cast Iron Wednesday, where every Wednesday it seems like a bunch of YouTube channels, and I know I say this every week too, a bunch of YouTube channels all decide to do a video about cooking in cast iron because, hey, it's a fun thing to do and it's a nice tradition, and that's why they call it Cast Iron Wednesday. And thank you, as always, to everybody who comes back and actually watches these things week after week. All I can say is I try to be entertaining, and I hope I hope folks enjoy this. I know I'm learning stuff. So yeah, already I can see Jimmy Langford, for instance. Well, that pizza that's in the thumbnail video, that was one I actually made a couple of years ago. I had to put something up as a thumbnail. I'm about to start the pizza actually because this is supposed to be a recipe that they say it takes about 1 hour from start to at least getting the pizza into the oven. So, and most of it apparently is waiting for the dough to rise. So all we can do is try it out. And that means we start out with our cast iron, which of course, in this case, means it's another excuse to bring out our good friend Stumpy. Here is our Birmingham Stove and Range number 14 Century Series cast iron skillet. And boy, I'm glad my wrist is healed because I can lift Stumpy again. So, oh, I see. It's just a little stain or something from last time. Yeah. This guy here is about 15 inches across. He weighs quite a bit. I will say that, but he's nice and deep. And Stumpy here is possibly the world's greatest pizza pan, as well as the world's greatest turkey roasting pan and the world's greatest cookie making pan. And you get the idea. I've enjoyed very much using this skillet here, and that's why he comes out yet again to cook a pizza. Since this recipe is supposed to be an hour from start to finish, I haven't even heated the oven yet, so that's the first thing we got to do. Let's move this back and get a nice view of the oven here. And into the oven goes our friend Stumpy. Move this over. Off to a right start. There we go, more or less. And we heat it. We heat the oven to the maximum it can go, which in my case is 500 degrees because I've got a pretty cheap oven. There are some ovens out there that can do 550, which certainly helps when it comes to pizza. And while the pizza is heating up, it's time to start preparing our dough. But while we're at it, let's see again. Hello to William Hurt and Jimmy Langford and Bookworm 73 and Jessica T and Gunter 42. Let me get this a little closer. I'm sorry, Gunter 45. My apologies, and our friend Papa Dan again. Hello all, hello everyone, and welcome back as always. As I mentioned, we are trying out a pizza recipe tonight for a couple of reasons. One of which is that I really have been inspired to try to up my pizza game. In that, making pizza in cast iron is probably one of the most popular things that people do with their cast iron pans. I mean, everybody, as you know, makes your cornbread and your steak and your fried chicken, and those are all great. But one of the first things everybody I've seen, especially on the cast iron cooking group, what they do is that they say, "Hi, this is my first time making homemade pizza," and usually it turns out great. I've made a bunch of pizzas over the past several years, and most of them have turned out okay. I've made some good pizzas. I don't think I have yet made a truly great pizza in my cast iron. It's trickier than I thought, especially putting the dough together, but all I can do is keep on practicing. And so there's this channel I've been following for the past several months, which calls itself Weeds and Sardines. And that guy is really, his star is definitely on the rise. If you haven't checked that channel out, you really want to. Among other things, he specializes in all kinds of pizza recipes. All of them are done in his kitchen. All of them he tries to make as easy as possible to make at home. And it's a very nice, and the videos are really, really inspiring, which is one reason why when last week he came out with this recipe for what he called 1 hour pizza, I figured, hey, let's give it a try, especially since, like I said, I want to up my pizza game. So here we are giving this a try here. Yeah. And hello again, William Hurt. And howdy, everyone. JD Hive 4. Yeah. As always, again, I'm glad to see everybody here. So we've got ourselves an hour, more or less, to start putting this thing together. Fortunately, I have done a few things in advance. And that includes pre-measuring my ingredients. So the one thing I still got to do is measure out some beer here. The recipe calls for beer because, as he says, this is only a 1 hour recipe, so the beer substitutes for the long, slow fermenting you get when you rise the dough bit by, over the course of several hours. And I've never been much of a beer person, but I really like cooking with this stuff, Guinness Ale. So we're supposed to measure out 210 grams of beer, which is exactly, as I said, this thing's been sitting out all afternoon covered. So it's easily at room temperature. It is definitely not ice cold. All the rest of the ingredients are already measured out, so this is not going to take forever. And okay, well, nice head on this, I'll say that much. 176. Almost there. 200. Oh, there. Oops. And I overdid it a wee bit, but I don't think that'll be a problem. And from here, as he says, we are going to be getting out a food processor for that. So let me move this aside, and that means it's time to bring out, well, yeah, I mentioned on my community post as well this morning, that today is Mom's birthday, and I've said quite a bit about Mom already, including mentioning her a couple of times this year. So, but of course, I at least have to say happy birthday, Mom, and that's one reason why I also wanted to bring out the Ninja food processor that really I inherited from her. She used this, and when she passed on, well, it moved on to me. So we get to play with this thing. I remember last Halloween when I had a lot of fun playing with this. That's why I'm testing it out first, just to make sure everything is working correctly. So anyway, let's bring up the recipe here. Pretty simple. The beer, by the way, should be, it says, about 98 degrees or so. I'm betting if it's cooler than that, that should not be a problem. The foam, anyway. It looks like this thing has cooled to about room temperature, so that's not so bad. It should not be enough to kill the yeast, I'll say that much. So, in the bowl of a food processor, measure our flour. And get it all over the place, as I knew I would. There we go. Flour, salt and sugar, both of which I put into this bowl, into this little ramekin here. Yeast, which again was measured out in advance. And olive oil. Nice and hard so far, isn't it? Oh, as I said, I've only been able to do mediocre to good pizza, even though it really looks so easy, doesn't it? So I'm giving this a try, and we'll see how this pizza turns out. And we spin on high for about 20 to 30 seconds until combined. Bring this up. And do it. Seems like the olive oil stuck in the front here. I don't want to spill everything, but all right. And now we start streaming in the beer and continue to spin until a shaggy dough forms. So means we're going to do the beer a little at a time, because at least one thing I've learned from experience is you don't want to add all the liquid at once. You want to add it a bit at a time. Do this right. What did I do? Why is this not going on this time? Oh. How'd I do that? Okay, there we go again. Okay, there we go. Well, it sounds like it's working. Not doing too badly, but I think I may have to end up stirring. Oh, it looks like we still have a lot of liquid left, though. So let's keep on going. You can definitely smell the beer, I'll say that much. Or ale, rather. Oh, there we go. That's getting somewhere. Definitely doing better now. I'm glad I added the liquid a little at a time. Almost there. And now for the last of it. Definitely shaggy now. I wonder if I'm dumb enough to do something like this. Ooh, yeah, baby. Okay, that's enough. One more. I think we're good. Let's see how it looks now. Yeah, we definitely we have ourselves a dough for a starter. Not bad for a starter, I'd say. And what do we have here so far? The beer that eats like a meal. Yeah, just about. Guinness, good. Looks like a nice stand mixer. And yet you make the food in a food processor. Well, I'm doing that largely because that's how the recipe does it. I was considering using the stand mixer, yes, but I figured I wanted to do it the way he does it, and also, as I said, it was an excuse to bring out Mom's Ninja, so I felt it would be worth it. And I always do forget something. And that is to keep a little bit of extra flour aside just to coat the work surface very lightly. And from here, we've got to do a little bit of kneading. Move this over to the side. There we go. That's not so bad. Get this out. Careful of these blades. Oh yeah, there's definitely gluten in here. Now, of course, again, I want to do this. In fact, I better... There we go. I'm not that dumb. Close to it, but not quite that dumb. You know, hey, I think I'll go in between all these sharp blades with my hands. No. Well, it definitely, as I said, the gluten has definitely done its thing. I'll say that much. Give me a second. Try to get as much of this off as I can. And we will go from there, because I'm not going to spend all evening just doing this. All right. There you go. That seems like most of it. Over here. I can move the microphone a little closer. That's a little better. There we go. Use only a tiny dusting of flour on the top. Whoops, it's probably more than enough. There you go. Mix it around. And again, the way he does it is interesting in that he goes from side to side. And I can see that's going to take some work, so I'm just going to do it the way I normally do it, which is not going to take long at all. This dough feels pretty good as it is right now. So far, things are looking pretty good, and this has not been difficult at all. We've got ourselves quite a bit of dough here, don't we? As you can see, I barely had to do anything at all. I think most of the most of the kneading was probably already done while it was in the Ninja. Because I would say, take a look at this. We've got a nice dough ball already, if you ask me. So what do we have here? He explained, this particular processor. Well, not to worry. Good evening, North here. Old adult films. Oh, Peter North. Oh yeah, I remember. I think you popped up here. What was it? A few months ago. I kind of remember you. No, not that way, folks. Okay. Will it be overmixed doing this way? I certainly hope not. However, at this point, we're supposed to actually separate it now into 2 dough balls. Maybe put a little bit more on this one. And it's looking pretty good so far. So now our next step. Cover with damp towel. Always forget something, of course. Need a damp towel. Okay. And crap. Always forget something. Embarrassing to say that. All right. At this point, unfortunately, I seem to be, believe it or not, out of a towel, so I have to improvise pretty quickly, which is what I will do right now. And where did that lid go? There it is. always something, isn't it, folks? Wrong lid, damn it. All right. That's interesting. Okay. Sorry for the delay. Once again, I'm trying to do this as quickly as we can. Believe it or not, I seem to be out of a towel, so I'm going to have to do the usual trick for this, and that would be coat it with olive oil, cover it, and let it rise that way, because you do what you have to. But it definitely feels warm enough in here at least, so I don't think the temperature is going to be a problem. Now from here, all right, it does say cover and allow to rest at room temperature for 15 minutes. Okay, so far so good. All right, well, we're off to an interesting start at least, I'll say that much, which means let's back up for a second. And talk a little bit about cast iron, shall we? Because after all, that I know that's the reason why people come to this channel, and I appreciate that because yeah, I mentioned already. I'm using a vintage BSR Century Series skillet. It's a size 14, which is just about maybe a little old, maybe around as old as I am, maybe a little bit younger, but not much. Of course, cast iron has gotten so popular these days, and as well, pizza has always been popular, and so as a result, it's really easy for anybody to score what they call a cast iron pizza pan, which is basically just a round cast iron griddle in which they just simply slap a label on it and call it a pizza pan. Lodge has made a cast iron pizza pan of that kind for the past several years. In fact, only about a year or so ago, when they produced their new line of what they call bakeware, they actually produced a new pizza pan. The difference being is that their new pizza pan is completely flat and does not have a rim around it. So it's shaped more like those baking steels that have also become quite popular. So on the other hand, of course, there's nothing wrong with using a good old cast iron skillet for baking, which for making pizza. As I mentioned, I have made quite a few as well. And I dare say, or at least I hope, some of the folks here have made pizza at least one way or another, even if that means taking a store-bought frozen pizza and putting it in a cast iron pan and baking it in the oven that way, because yeah, you could do that. It will still give you a fantastic pizza. On the other hand, pizza is so easy, as you can see. It's one of those secrets that the pizza companies really don't want you to know, as they say. It's so easy to make pizza, and delivery pizza has gotten so expensive these days. It's like even a plain cheese pizza will cost anywhere from maybe $13 to $15. So these two pizzas here combined are certainly going to cost less than that. What do we have here, by the way? As I mentioned, yeah, good looking. That again is Peter North, and did pizza in a cast iron oven outside today. That's Dave Collier Camping. Turned out great. Oh yeah, I mean, again, that's what can you say about pizza? It's so easy, and I guess that's one reason why it's so popular. And yet, not a lot of people do make homemade pizza. I mean, those of us who have learned how to cook, I mean, we do, but as you know, pizza really, making your own pizza is so amazing for folks, outside our little circle here, that usually if you make a homemade pizza, your friends will say to you, "Are you a wizard?" So, and that's one reason why I like making it. Although, as I said, I'm still trying to get the perfect pie myself. As I mentioned, that was a Birmingham Stove and Range number 14. You can find a cast iron pan large enough to make a pizza pretty easily. For starters, it does not have to actually be circular, even though that's the traditional one. I mean, if you've got yourself a nice big cast iron square or rectangular griddle, for instance, there's no reason why you could not make a pizza on that. Those round griddles from the gate mark hanging griddles from the 19th century that are actually, they're actually still fairly easy to find. Those also make great pizza pans. Not to mention your good old number 8 10-inch cast iron skillet, or a number 12, or number 10 rather, 12-inch skillet. The two most common kinds that you can buy in the stores today. They make just fine pizza pans. You can make personal pizzas with them. And again, there's almost no wrong way to make pizza. I guess I should say right now, I am not interested in the silly arguments going on about pineapple pizza. So what? It's a topping. I like it. I've had Hawaiian pizza. I enjoy it. I have no problem at all with it. I have no problem with New York style pizza. I've been to New York City, and yeah, it's some of the best pizza I ever had. I had in New York City. I've had wood-fired Neapolitan pizza, not in Italy, I'm afraid, but there is one place in Boston, the original Pizzeria Regina, that does wood-fired Neapolitan. And when you have had an actual Neapolitan pizza, you will be amazed. Neapolitan pizza does not taste anything like your typical delivery pizza. The taste is actually different. I'm not sure how to describe it. Maybe sweeter, maybe more savory, but it's different. And yes, it is wonderful, and it is definitely worth trying if you ever have the chance to do so. We're talking about real brick oven fired pizza. And I don't mean the kind you get from the chains, whether it's Bertucci's or even Pizzeria Regina here in Boston or Domino's. Those pizzas, yeah, they taste okay. But as I said, when you've had a nice deluxe pizza, it's just not the same. And what do we have here? Being told to turn phone off. Oh, my condolences, Papa Dan. I do hope your dad's doing better too. Yeah, Pappy Dan. I've made a couple of pizzas in my BSR number 14, but as you said, they were good, but it's a work in progress. Yeah, that's the thing. And really, the hardest part is getting the right crust. I mean, yeah, as I said, that crust seems to be so easy to make. It has nothing more than a few ingredients, but you've got to mix them together in just the right way. And that's why I can only hope. I mean, I have diverged from the recipe right now by coating these things in olive oil, and I'm letting them rest in a covered container, which is the traditional way that most pizza recipes go. Anyway, oh crap! Excuse me. I knew that was coming. Yeah, every time. Where are they? He's in there. I don't know where she is. She's Turn probably. The fan on. What? Spin the fan and put it on the window. Yeah, that's what I'm doing. Okay. All right. She'll be fine with the door open. Where's she? I don't know. She might be in the bedroom, perhaps. She's not likely to get out, I would think, but I would rather we find her, of course. Shit. Yeah. Yeah, that happens every time I heat up my oven to like 500 degrees. What can I say? I've got a really oversensitive smoke detector here at home. You did not? Okay. She might be. Would you be kind enough maybe to take a look? Okay. But anyway, where were we? Yeah. That's what happens when you use Guinness. Yeah, the smoke alarm goes off. They don't tell you about Guinness, do they? Okay, coming up. Oh, one of my cats is hiding right now. There she is. Where? Oh, okay. Yeah, they're both in there. Okay. Yeah, they're both accounted for. Yeah. All right. Sounded like the alarm at my house. Yeah. Well, this should not take long to heat up at least.
I threw the treats at his feet and he like looked around.
Shit.
Looked back at me.
Yeah.
Almost say like, really?
And
really?
that's
You throw them at my feet? That's what you do? You throw them at my feet?
It's because of the one in the bedroom.
So they just opened up that.
Hold on. I know, it's because of here. There. Ugh. All right. Last time, folks. I promise. Okay, pizza crust. It ferment in fridge for a day or so. Yeah, that's why we used beer in this recipe. As you said, the beer is meant to substitute for the long fermentation. And I guess that's why all we can do is see. I used to put a shopping bag over my smoke alarm. Well, yeah, would you believe there are 3 smoke detectors, and one of them, no, I cannot actually admit this in public, but it may be that perhaps the smoke detector that's actually in the kitchen right by the oven has been covered by a plastic bowl for the last several months. Maybe. Not that I'm saying whose apartment that's in, of course, but and yet even so, these things still go off whenever I heat up my oven. Okay. When my daughter started cooking, I think she was using the alarm as a timer. Yeah, you could say that. Actually, that's one of the things. If half of your recipes involve blowing smoke away from the smoke detector, you might have cast ironitis. Nonetheless, as far as this recipe is concerned, let's start looking ahead, shall we? The next part of the recipe mentions we've got to place each ball onto an oiled piece of parchment and top it with another piece of oiled parchment. So I'm going to have to get out 2 nice pieces of parchment here. And here it is. So that we'll be ready when these things come out. There we go. And let's look a little ahead. I have a link to the video that I'm following this on, by the way. And if you want to watch the video, of course, you could certainly do so. And it is very entertaining, too. I wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't. All right, place each ball onto an oiled piece of parchment and then flatten dough slightly with your hands and proceed to roll out a 12 to 14 inch round. Yeah, here's the part about using a rolling pin. And yeah, that's the thing. Pizza hobbyists, they are as nerdy and as anal as any hobbyists, whether we're talking cast iron or knives or comic book nerds. We've got pizza nerds, the ones who absolutely must do things the traditional way. And if you differ from it in any way at all, you have ruined it, and that's not pizza. Including things like using a rolling pin to roll out your dough, or rolling the dough out on parchment for that matter, or actually, diverging from the original Neapolitan recipe and using all-purpose flour rather than double O flour, and other fun things like that. And again, that's where we get into the whole bit about Hawaiian pizza, too. I'm tempted. I should really make a Hawaiian pizza with Spam and pineapple. I wonder how that comes out. Not tonight, though. Tonight, I've got your traditional pepperoni, mozzarella. I also got some dry salami just because of the nostalgia. And, okay, last time I was making pizza, it was on the back porch doing double crust. Oh, that's really something to try once I've had a little bit more practice. So, open mic night. Open mic night. The sound hasn't gone out, has it? No, okay. No, not spam. No, it definitely has not gone out. That's good. Yeah. Okay, I will say as well, I like spam. in moderation. I can't eat it every day, no, but those times when I have made it, especially when you make it in cast iron, it is actually pretty darn good, and it is worth it in that respect. So at this point, by the way, well, I'm not even sure. I can't even judge how well these things have risen, but they definitely would certainly have, what's the word? It's not as tense and it's not likely to spring back when I roll it out. So the dough has most certainly softened by now. So let's start getting back to here and looking at something other than my ugly mug. In fact, I can move this out of the way now. Clear the workspace. What's up? What's up? Keys?
Fun.
What?
Fun.
Oh, okay. Okay. Jamie's off to do an errand. Now, and I just had that there. Here it is. It said to use oiled parchment, and that's exactly what we do. Nothing difficult about that. We don't want to soak it, of course, but all we have to do is put in a few drops and spread it out. And let's do the other one. Careful, I don't want this parchment to burn. However, so far he's right in that this is not difficult. It does require several steps, but this has not been difficult so far. Not even mixing that dough. But again, we'll see how well or how the dough turns out or not. Okay, time. It's time. Let's bring out the first bit of dough, shall we? Covering this. And we cover it with the oiled parchment. Oh yeah, this is definitely. Again, it's not as elastic as your typical pizza dough. It definitely has loosened or rested, so this is much better. That's the thing, this would certainly work with store-bought pizza dough too. And I know most of us have tried making store-bought pizza dough, and the mistake that most folks make, and that includes myself, is that with store-bought pizza dough, you usually start trying to roll it out as soon as you take it out of the bag when it's still ice cold. And so then it becomes elastic and springy, and it's really, really hard to spread out. As opposed to what's happening here. As you can see, I'm barely applying any pressure at all here, and this thing is moving out with no difficulty at all, and it is not springing back either. So things are looking pretty good already, I'd say. Again, I'm barely applying any pressure at all here with the rolling pin. And yeah, I'm using an old-fashioned rolling pin. I know the trend these days is to just use those French-style wooden rolling pins. But I have to say it yet again. I inherited this from Mom. A lot of the items in my kitchen have been gifts or inherited from family, so that's why I tend to say that a lot. But hey, it works. So I'm certainly not complaining, but there we go. That, as I said, that was really not difficult at all. Let's get this out of the way. And we've got definitely have a, oh yeah, not bad. Now from here, my understanding is we actually have to let this rise a little bit more. It's kind of flat right now, yes. So the recipe now says, flatten dough slightly, then proceed to roll dough out into a 12 to 14 round Once rolled out, allow dough rounds to rise at room temperature for 30 to 40 minutes while you prepare the sauce and the toppings and your oven preheats. Okay, so in other words, as I said, we just need to let this rise. So it's flat now, but within about 30 minutes or so, it should have risen some with any luck. Okay, for the record, I actually prepared the sauce in advance. So the recipe does include, that video does include a simple recipe for pizza sauce, which was not hard to throw together at all. And yeah, there is quite a bit of it here. So things are doing pretty good right now. In fact, that means now all we have to do is wait a little bit. So far, I have to say he has been right. I'll move this back a little bit. Yeah. Sorry. There we go. He's been right so far in that this has been actually very easy to prepare. What time is it right now? 8:41. Well, I did dilly-dally a little bit, so all told, most of this has really just been letting the dough rise, and I guess that's really the hard part of any pizza recipe. So, okay. Ugly is as ugly does. I kind of missed that. I'm thinking maybe you're talking about the pizza dough, I suppose. I like that rolling pin, and I'm happy with it. Well, yeah, as I mentioned, that was yet another thing I inherited. So, inherited items will cover up a multitude of cooking sins. Well, I certainly hope so. What for the Guinness bottle? Explain. Okay, yeah. As the recipe noted, we did not mix water into the flour to make this dough. We actually mixed beer. The reason for that is, as I said, the beer kind of substitutes for the fermentation you get when you do a long, slow rise. I mean, this whole recipe is supposed to be about an hour from when you start preparing it to the time the pizza goes into the oven. And we're doing pretty good. We still have, technically, in about half an hour or so, it will have been an hour. So things are looking pretty good here. But that's the reason for the beer. Several years ago, I actually tried doing this myself. I had the same idea. I did, and the video is still there on my channel, and I called it cast iron beer crust pizza. And like all of the pizzas I've been making, as I said, it turned out okay. As I still have yet to make a master class pizza, but I'm still working on it. And I had no complaints at all about using that beer either. It added a really nice taste to the crust too. No, and it did not taste like beer. It gave it a nice, I don't know what you call, almost like a wheat flavor to the crust. So that is actually something I would indeed recommend. If you rise your own pizza dough, try doing it with beer at least once. Bring the beer to room temperature first, but try using beer instead of water and see what the results are. I think you may like it. So far, I'm liking it, how it's turned out so far. Okay. I won't lick the blades on the dough mixer. Yeah, that's a good idea. But I've got dibs on the rest of the beer. Okay. And while we are waiting for the dough to rise, I think the best thing to do at this point is, of course, to play with some cast iron. Speaking of Birmingham stove and range, and here's another interesting item that you may want to consider making pizza in. Here, how about a BSR square skillet? Yeah, this is one of those oddities that really was only identified thanks to internet research, not my research, but rather by all of those internet hobbyists. There's a Facebook group out there, especially for the history of BSR, that can be credited with a lot of the information that has been made available about BSR over the past several years or so. One of which is this square skillet. This particular one has absolutely no markings on the bottom, which is very unusual for BSR, but for some reason, some of these did indeed were unmarked like that. The real way to identify this is by this particular handle, because, okay, let's say it this way. BSR, they went from their Red Mountain series to their Century Cookware series. They initially named it in 1967. In the mid 1960s, BSR did a major upgrade to their entire foundry and their manufacturing process, and they brought in automated production, which was a major change for the company. Among other things, it had advantages and disadvantages. And among the advantages, of course, is that it vastly increased their output. They could put out enormous numbers of cast iron pans, far in much greater quantities than what they used to do by hand up until those days. And yeah, whether or not quantity was better than quality, well, that's the eternal argument. On the other hand, a lot of folks do love the Century series from BSR as well, but because they could produce pans so much faster, they had an incentive now to do a lot more experimentation and to and a lot of test marketing, and that's why they came up with a lot of designs in their Century series that were different from the typical skillets we saw in the Red Mountain series, and one of which was the square skillet, which we have right here. A lot of those new designs, they actually came up with this particular handle. And this kind of handle can be seen on a number of those unique pans from BSR. This handle does still have the ridge that BSR put on the bottom of their pans, but in addition, this oval hole, I think, is probably what can identify it more than anything else. It is actually a curved handle, not straight, and it is longer than the traditional handle from BSR, but it is not the same as what you see in Asian-made pans, and so it's still pretty easy to identify. Anyway, this is a nice 10 1/4 inch square skillet, and I just used this last weekend when I made a pan of brownies. I'm working on a video on that. You'll be seeing that hopefully in a couple of days or so as well. But imagine making a pizza in this, folks. I mean, yeah, that's what I mean. There's nothing wrong with using your typical 10-inch cast iron skillet for making pizza or making 2 pizzas or more. You know, it'll still turn out great. So even if you say you don't have a big cast iron pan, you can still use your typical size cast iron pan for making pizza. On the other hand, I also say that if you don't have a big cast iron pan in your kitchen, you really should get at least one. Whether it turns out to be a 12-inch skillet, a 15-inch skillet, a huge Dutch oven, or something. Having one cast iron pan in your kitchen will still get you a lot of attention. It will get a lot of use. It will not just sit there. I mean, old Stumpy here, for instance. Hey, I'm using him right now, and I've certainly used him quite a few times in the past. I think this dough may indeed be starting to rise too. But again, I've used Stumpy quite a few times in the past. As I mentioned already, he has made just about all of my Thanksgiving and Christmas turkeys. He is, again, a pizza pan. I love making giant cookies in Stumpy. That's really a great way to show off to family and friends, and they're so easy to do. Not to mention, a big pan like that also makes a great griddle for cooking large amounts of really whatever you want to cook in cast iron, whether it's tons of bacon or gravy or sausage gravy for biscuits and gravy. Having a big pan like that, while you may not use it every day, you will still get a lot of use out of it, and that's something I would certainly recommend. So, as Big Lou Barbecue says, I have a BSR breakfast griddle. Oh, yeah, that's a big one, all right. It's bigger than that square skillet. And I dare say you've probably gotten a lot of use out of it, too. So, Foon Foont sorry. My favorite burger lately, pizza burger with usual toppings on grilled garlic bread Texas toast, all cooked in my old BSR square pan. Oh, that sounds interesting. A pizza burger, huh? So essentially, it's either a pizza with hamburger toppings or maybe it's a hamburger with pizza sauce on it. Either one sounds pretty good, if you ask me. So once I get a large pizza pan, my cast iron collection will be complete. Will be complete. Yeah, that's fake. But yeah, no, your collection will not be complete. My collection will not be complete. There will always be, it's like one more. It's one, that's why we call it cast iron itis. It's like we say, okay, one more and then I'll be done. Yeah, any addict will say that, and you know that's never the case. Nonetheless, well, now again from Lodge, in addition, there are two cast iron pizza pans. They're 14-inch one with the rim around the edge, and their new 15-inch one that's completely flat. And that certainly does sound tempting, doesn't it? And yet, here I am saying already, I've got Stumpy. I've got that big cast iron pan, which I'm using right now to make pizza. Do I really need a large pizza pan? Well, no, I don't need it. Do I want it? Yeah. Steak pizzaiola, or what's this? I can't read it very well. TJ007. Chicago style deep dish pizza. Yeah, I have had Chicago style deep dish pizza and I have enjoyed it. I've made it at least a couple of times and I've definitely enjoyed it. Once years ago, back when Pizzeria Uno was good, I had a nice deep dish pizza then. Several years ago, I went back to Uno for the first time and I had a disappointing, very disappointing so-called deep dish pizza. The crust was dry. It was the pizza was bland. It was made probably the worst pizza I ever had. And the best thing I can say about that was the pizza that inspired me to start making my own homemade pizza. And I have not turned back. So yeah, no, I have not been to a Pizzeria Uno since then. Some of the others, yes, I do admit I still do get takeout pizza once in a while. I do not mind Domino's. Now, no, Domino's is nothing like a traditional pizza, but it's especially since they changed it. But actually, I don't think it's bad. I also don't mind the traditional pizzas you get from Papa John's, Papa Gino's, and so forth. But again, it's like, as I said, I don't mind them. It's not something I will go out of my way for. Best pizza I may have ever had was on my trip to New York City for my 50th birthday. And that was when just pretty much at random, I went to this local pizzeria on something like 64th Street. All I know is it was like maybe half a mile or so from Central Park. But I will never forget the pizza I had that day, partly because I took a picture of it and posted it on Facebook. Yeah. However, what I remember was I went in because I wanted some lunch and I asked for a pizza with cheese and mushrooms. And I got a pizza with cheese and mushrooms and mushrooms and mushrooms. And it was on this crust that had a wonderful, it was chewy, it was delicious, and it had nice char on the bottom. And the mozzarella pulled and it pulled. It looked like you could pull it about half a mile wide. That was New York City pizza. Oh man, I'd never had a pizza like that. And I don't know when I will ever have a pizza like that again. I'd love to make one like that. And maybe after several more years of practice, maybe I will. But until then, it's a memory that I'm cherishing. And I'm trying to recreate, like tonight, for instance. Abel Gonzalez, would you recommend to get a big Dutch oven than a big deep fryer? Yes, I would, because a Dutch oven is also a deep fryer. So I have no complaints at all about that. The volume is different. So actually, if you're going to be doing a lot of deep frying, it's hard to say. I mean, a Dutch oven, again, you can get a really big Dutch oven, which will indeed let you do a lot of really, really great deep frying. But the disadvantage of that, of course, is it requires a lot, and I mean a lot of oil. It was only last week, I think 2 weeks ago, when I made donuts here live on YouTube Live. And for that, I pulled out the Lodge fish fryer, and I had to use 4 quarts of oil just for that batch. And 4 quarts of oil, unfortunately, are not cheap these days. So you have to consider things like that, I guess. You have to consider the need that you will have for it. On the other hand, if you do spring for it and make the expense of it, I would say that a Dutch oven may very well be the best deep fryer around. So, you know how on Thanksgiving of every year they do a lot of people do these deep fried turkeys, but they always use those big aluminum turkey fryers. Partly because they're a lot more affordable than a big Dutch oven of that size, but also because I think of their straight sides as opposed to the round shape of a Dutch oven. So you actually can deep fry a turkey using less oil because of the shape of that kind of a pot. And in that respect, I think it would make sense. So one of these days, I do indeed want to pull out my big cast iron cauldron or my 16-quart cauldron, for instance, and try deep frying a turkey in that and see how well that turns out. Maybe that'll happen like this fall or so. Okay, I can always justify getting another pan. Yeah, it is easy to justify, isn't it? Would you recommend? No, I saw that one already. What? Dutch oven is a deep fryer. Well, yeah, as we explained, yes, it is. Well, possibly the world's best, or definitely the world's first deep fryer. You can bet that was where they first started doing deep frying in Dutch ovens. And excuse me 1 second, I've got to cancel this out. Pop-up ad for my antivirus. Okay, so I'm thinking this has risen. Oh, whoops! I want to watch myself here. Do this again. It's hard to say if this has really risen or not. I mean, it still looks kind of flat. Although on the other hand, I think it does have some. There is some rise to it. So. If you look here on the edges, you can see that it may very... let me try bringing this up close, in fact. I don't think this is going to ruin it. If you look at the edges, you can see it is starting to rise at least slightly. So I can only hope that once it goes in the oven, then it will rise a lot more than that. Even so, the other thing about this is notice the color. The color is not white. It's more of, that's because of the beer, of course. It has more of a, as I said, it looks more like a wheat type of crust rather than the typical white flour crust that we usually see. So for that, at least, I'm looking forward to tasting this. All right, I've brought up Stumpy, as I mentioned, and we are at about 500 degrees at this point in the oven, so there's not going to be any problem with that. Really, all we have to do is just wait for this thing to finish rising, which I suppose we could do that at any time. I think it is going to end up being something of a flat crust pizza, unfortunately. So. I'm not sure if maybe I should just wait a little longer, or maybe the beer was still too cold. I had it up to room temperature. It was like somewhere between 72 and 75. I'm hoping that was not enough to kill the yeast, because I know the recipe said to heat it up to about 98 degrees. Perhaps that was my mistake. Well, all I can do is live with it, because we've gotten this far. Vroom, vroom, vroom. Lovely neighborhood. On the other hand, by the way, this one here has definitely risen a little bit. So after this, I can always do a second pizza and see how that turns out. Nonetheless, let's see. Wow, that would be awesomeness for a deep fried turkey. Yeah, I'm looking, as I said, it's definitely one of those projects that I do intend on doing one of these days. Last year I did the jambalaya project and I have no regrets for that at all. I'm glad it's done and I'd love to do it again. So yeah, deep fried turkey is going to be the next thing. But anyway, getting back to the subject of what else? Pizza. Let's see what we have here. As I said, this does still look kind of flat, unfortunately. Oh, and on top of this, excuse me a second, I've got a cord caught here. There we go. As I said, this unfortunately does look kind of flat still. And as I said, I'm hoping I did not end up killing the yeast because, again, the beer was at a temperature of about 72 to 75 degrees. Nonetheless, well, as they say, the shoe must go on. So let's see what can happen here. That means we got to start preparing our toppings. That, of course, means we've got pepperoni. I felt nostalgic and got some dry salami, which I haven't had in a long time. Some shredded mozz and some whole mozz. And of course, over here, the sauce. So, the hard part's over, actually. I mean, once we've risen the dough, then the rest of it is pretty easy. I mean, the oven is already hot. Well, no, the hard part as well is going to be getting this thing into the pan. So that's going to be interesting in itself. Oh, yeah, I should mention that. The video actually shows you just simply put all of the parchment paper right in the pan. The parchment paper will burn, but it will not burn the pizza. So we will give that a try and make that and do this all nice and easy. All right, that means now comes the fun part. Oops. Let's get some of this sauce out. And he recommends, again, going all the way to the edge. Do not set up do not do an outer crust. So I guess I will just base this on his advice here. One thing as well is that you don't want to drown your pie in sauce, as is pointed out. All you really need is a little bit, maybe a little bit more. And that should really be enough. There we go. Things are okay. There's the first step. Which means now from here, oh yeah, you too. I do not want to spill this. And what else do we say? Don't the sides of the skillet make it harder to get the pizza in and out? Why not put the pizza at the bottom of the cast iron? You can actually try that. What I've found is actually when the pizza is well done, it does not stick to the bottom, and it's not difficult at all to get it out of the pan. So from here is our cheese. And I've also been told that you want to resist the temptation to drown it in cheese, because if you do, it's going to get all oily and greasy and yellow. So we don't want to overdo it. Back just a little bit more around the edges, and that's probably all we need. And you'll notice I am using shredded mozzarella, and I did not take the time to grate my own. I am being honest about that. Yes, it is better to grate your own. I have said already that I've only made a mediocre pizza. Doing things like not using not grating my own mozzarella, that may be the reason why I'm only getting a mediocre pizza. So I'm not going to deny that. Okay, now from here, why didn't that come in? Let's do that again. Come on, what am I doing wrong here? There's some. There we go. Now comes the fun part. This is where, of course, we start topping our pizza. There's some nice big hunks of mozz. Oh yeah. This stuff is practically string cheese too. And here and there. Maybe a little bite for myself. Oh yeah. Mozzarella is addictive. And then after this, I am trying to do this as quickly as I can, folks, I promise. Damn it. Come on. There we go. Finally, when you have pizza, you gotta have pepperoni. This is not bad stuff either. Maybe one more here and one more here. And I think we're good. These are large pieces of pepperoni. I did not expect them to be this large. And then finally, always one more thing. Top this a little more with some Parmesan. And with that, well, I do believe we've got what's going to be yet another mediocre pizza. I can live with mediocre right now. Oh yeah. Since we use bottom of a ceramic coffee cup. How do you know how to sharpen your knives? Oh, do you know how to sharpen your knives? It's one of those things I'm still practicing on. Pre-shredded cheese often has a little bit of cellulose and other fillers to keep them from sticking. Yeah, that much I am aware of. So I do know that that's why it is better to grate your own cheese. I don't deny that. Throw some basil on it. So is feta cheese. I can't keep it in the house. Regrettably, basil, unfortunately, I looked for some basil tonight and could not find it, strangely enough. So, and I am not going to stoop to using dried basil on this pizza. However, having done that, I think it's time now. Well, I'll move my workspace again. Here's the other dough. And this from there. I do believe it's time to bring out our friend Stumpy. Finally, replace my oven mitts too. Okay, I gotta move this back a little bit because, well, we've got to have room to get our pizza in and out of the oven. Now, this is what I get for working on a low budget. I do not have one of those really fancy kitchens you see, like on Binging with Babish, for instance, unfortunately. It's one of those things I wish I had, but do not. However, let's not waste any more time. Hello, Stumpy. Here he is. And here we go. Best way to do this now is just simply that was easy. This is how the recipe recommends it. And yeah, I have to admit, that was pretty easy. I have been able to use a pizza peel before, but if you've had if you've had difficulty using a pizza peel, hey, this certainly worked pretty well. And I can hear the sizzle already too, so the heat is definitely passing through the parchment paper. And with that, into the oven we go. Now, that parchment paper absolutely will burn. I'm hoping it doesn't smoke too much, in fact. Will it set on fire? No, I do not believe it will. It is well away from the actual burners inside the oven. So at most, we might have a little smoke. I am not anticipating anything like a fire, honestly. Worst comes to worst, I do, in fact, have an oven fire extinguisher, but I do not think we're going to need it. Oh, now what? All right, bring this back up again. What am I doing? What happened? There we go. Sorry about that. Something happened to my connection. Oh, not again. What is going on now? There we go. Yeah, the screen suddenly started minimizing. I was afraid that this was going to cut off completely, but fortunately, no. Okay. Let it burn. Use insurance to upgrade your kitchen. I could say I'm tempted, but I don't want to be caught on video saying that. What cast iron pan do you use the most? Hard to say. For skillets, right now it's probably my BSR Red Mountain number 8. That's a typical 10.5-inch size skillet. I really enjoy that, but I've been trying to get a lot of use out of my other skillets, such as the Stargazer or the Lodge. For Dutch ovens, my Griswold number 8, again a 10-inch Dutch oven, is one of the most used items in my kitchen. I definitely love that. And I've been doing my best to try to circulate through all of the rest of my collection. That's one reason why I do these videos. It gives me an excuse to bring out different cast iron pans and keep using them. But if you ask which one I use the most, I would have to say probably that skillet and a Dutch oven. So should cut off excess paper before putting in oven. Oh, of course, I didn't think of that. Hi. Use my Lodge 10-inch every day, Andrew Bonificio. Yeah, exactly. That's the whole point. A modern-day Lodge pan is absolutely nothing wrong with it. Don't think that you are being left out or that it's not good enough if you have a modern-day Lodge 10-inch skillet. That is still an excellent and really great piece of cast iron, and use it with pride. I'm going to be saying a couple of words about that within a couple of days as well. So. Mozzarella is easy to make at home, and it's better than the store-bought mozzarella. Yeah, that's one of those projects that I really want to do as soon as I can in the near future. I've got this laundry list of things that you gotta do. You know, like among other things, make homemade mustard, make homemade mozzarella. Try to get a world-class pizza, which would have to include grating my own cheese. And question about collecting, and you have a good once you have a good utilitarian set of pans, what's good to look for? I would say cast iron pans that you find suit your needs. Everybody has their own tastes and everybody does things different. So one person's collection is not going to be the same as another person's collection. And that's why I also recommend not getting a knife block for that reason. If you get a typical block of knives that has your usual selection of knives, you know what's going to happen? You will end up using two of those knives on a regular basis, probably the chef knife and maybe one other knife. The others will sit unused in that knife block for years. And the reason why is because it does not cater to your tastes. If you want the best, and this also applies to cast iron. This is why I brought up a knife block the same way. A collection of cast iron is really going to be suited to your taste more than anyone else. Like, for instance, if you do a lot of outdoor cooking, you are obviously going to end up with a collection of Dutch ovens and outdoor griddles and camp stoves and the like, much more than what I have in my kitchen, because I live in an apartment that has, again, an electric stove, no gas, and I live in the middle of the city, and really there's very limited opportunity to do outdoor cooking. So as a result, the vast majority of my collection is indoor cast iron for that reason. Things okay? Yes or no?
Yes, I've talked to everyone.
Okay, that's good.
Cake.
Oh, that's interesting.
21st birthday.
Okay, say when. Well, not now, but oh, looks like we've been given a project. Let me check on that pizza already. Hey, that's actually looking pretty good, if you ask me. I think we may be almost done already. So wait till you see this. However, I was digging through my shed, and I was excited to see what I thought was a log. It turned out to be a Master Chef 12-inch. Well, if you've got it, use it. Clean it up and use it. There's no reason not to. Or if you don't feel like using it, clean it up and present it to friends and family so that they can use it. This has been said quite a few times before. You know, modern day cast iron, even if you have a preference for vintage, even if you have a preference for made in America, and I know a lot of people do. I do too, yes. Yet, there's nothing wrong with using a modern, cheap, Asian-made cast iron. It will still cook just fine. You can use it at least until you find a pan that you feel will suit you better. But there's no reason to shy away from using that Master Chef 12-inch, for instance. And I have more knives than Carter made liver pills. Yeah, that's the thing about collecting as well. You find yourself your collection growing out of control unless you do everything you can to reel it in. In only 2 weeks, guess what we have here in Massachusetts? The Brimfield Antique Show is back at last. And yeah, I am drooling. I'm looking forward to going there. And I've got to give myself an agenda. Don't go overboard. There are a lot of great things to see at Brimfield, but I have to tell myself, really, am I going to use this? Well, I'll probably end up making excuses. But that still comes back to your collection can easily grow out of control unless you really do your best to rein it in. I try not to be a hoarder, and I try to get as much use out of my cast iron as possible, which, as I just mentioned, is one of the reasons why I make all these videos. What's your educational background? I graduated high school. I made it as far as my sophomore year of college. Other than that, I have worked in the IT field for a fair amount of my life. So I guess I've had experience that way. That, of course, and all of my internet use. So that's my educational experience. I am completely self-taught when it comes to just about everything. When it comes to cooking, when it comes to using computers. I never went to culinary school. I'm not one of those persons who worked in a kitchen my whole life. Up until 10, now 11 years ago, I would have told you I could not cook to save my life. However, having said that, I think it's time to get the pizza out. Let's see what it looks like, folks. And here comes the moment of truth. Move these out of the way and oh. What do you think? You know, I don't think that looks too bad at all. How about you? I've got to get a picture of this because, of course, I have to post this picture online. So it's a small pizza, yes, there's no denying that, and yet this does not look too bad if you ask me. Okay.
Look at that, pizza in an hour.
Yeah, exactly. 1 hour pizza. So wow. Not bad, actually. There's a little bit of char around the edges. I would not even call that burnt. Maybe a tiny bit around the edge,
that's
but
called burnt cheese. Are you kidding me?
Okay.
That's burnt cheese, love. That's not char. That's light brown.
So yeah, I'd say this is, if you ask me, I'd say this was not. Yeah, it did turn out to be a thin crust. I was afraid it would be too thin, in fact. So
I would never think that something that in an hour would ever be anything less than thin crust.
Well, yeah, you can definitely say that, I guess.
Because there's not even a close time for bread.
No, you simply cannot rise it enough in an hour, and you're right, it will be a thin crust nonetheless. Still, this does not look bad at all, if you ask me. What do you think? Hold on. Now I'm getting this thing about Windows updates. I'm not interested in that right now. Cancel that out. Okay. I think you can brown it more, it says. Nice crust on the edge. Yeah, I'd say it's not bad. Oh, God damn it. Sorry. Hold on. Pop-up. Windows, schedule your restart. Close that. Windows, schedule your restart. Close that. Ugh. Don't you just love Windows? Okay. All right. Yeah, I like thick, crispy crust. Yeah, I do like thick crust pizza myself. So, given a choice, ooh, careful, that's hot. You know, I can see I'm probably not even going to be able to lift this out. I think this parchment paper is too fragile here. So, ooh, almost lost it, but we got it. There we go. Not bad. However, I think I better move Stumpy out of the way. Anyway, yes, as Jamie said, you know, if this is a 1 hour pizza, you're pretty much going to end up with a thin crust no matter what. I think that's almost inevitable. Still, this is not bad at all, and I would almost certainly say that this is probably going to be better than a DiGiorno. I mean, I know as much as folks like their DiGiorno, I'm saying that this did not turn out too badly. They could use more pepperoni. Yeah, tell me about it. Well, those are big pieces of pepperoni, so I could probably even put a couple in right now, maybe, perhaps. Still, again, I'd say that's the whole point. You know what we have here? As she said, pizza in an hour. We did not have to raise this dough for 2 days. Although, given a choice, I think I would prefer that. This sauce was very easy to put together. The dough did come together nicely. And yes, I would rather raise the dough. But if you want a fast 1 hour pizza, that's exactly what we have here. Pizza in an hour, beginning to end, cooked in cast iron, is really, I'd say this is probably about the best we can do in that respect. And I am not complaining about that. Let me, in fact, the last thing, let's see if I can do a, bring this down so that we can get a shot of the underside of the pizza, if at all possible. Yeah, I think that turned out okay. All right, let me check the comments once more. Thank you for your patience on all this. Let's see what we have now. Meanwhile, maybe a bit more pepperoni. Yeah, I made a mistake. I used larger pieces of pepperoni. I should have used more and smaller pieces of that. Seaman of the Woods, Central U.S. Just enough for me. You got beer left to make yours. When are you going to use the rest of that dough? Yes, indeed. We've got enough here to make another pizza, in fact.
I will do it.
Yeah, any homemade pizza is better than store-bought. Yeah, I can't deny that. So, nicely cooked bottom. Oh yeah, the underside looks good. Yeah, I'm not complaining. All things considered. Okay.
We forgot to do the fucking.
Yeah, we did. Okay.
We'll do it next week.
We'll do it next week. But still, as I said, considering what it is, a 1 hour pizza recipe, I think I'm pretty happy with it. And I'm not going to complain. And let me also plug it again. As I said, this recipe came from a YouTube channel called Weeds and Sardines. And he has his reason why he calls it that. Apparently, it was going to start out as a gardening channel, but it turned into a cooking channel, a really good cooking channel. He is up and coming. He has gotten over 50,000 subscribers. So he's not a YouTube superstar yet, but he is well on the way. And it's definitely worth looking at it because this is only one of many pizza recipes on there that I really want to try. I mean, the next one I really, really want to try is not a 1 hour pizza, but if you see, it's called delivery pizza. And when you look at that, you'll see why. Still, this hasn't been too bad. Oh yeah, I hear the cats as well. Hold on. I think it's time to let the cats out. Better close the door here. It's time to let the cats out. Okay. Here it comes. Oh yeah. Hi, trouble. And having said all that, let's go back up to here again because I do feel we are getting down to it. After all, oh my lord, we're into this for an hour and a half. So this has certainly been a nice, easy going live tonight. Yeah, and it was a little less chaotic than last week too, so I'm not complaining about that at all. In pace tonight, but I think the results were worth it. So next week I feel like we'll try doing a lot more talk about cast iron because I know that's what folks really like, although I have no complaints of how this one turned out. It's pizza, what can you say? And it looks like a pretty good one too. And what do we have here? Rodney Parks, cut the excess paper off, then place in the oven. Yeah, I'm definitely going to have to remember that. That's for sure. I definitely hit the like option. Well, thank you. Just a quick look. Channel looks interesting. Well, I do hope you like it. I have seen you already, Shadow Walker, as well. So thank you again for coming back. Love that walnut cutting board. Yeah, the cutting board as well was another Christmas present. That one, in fact, came from Jeff Rogers, the culinary fanatic, and I've gotten a lot of use out of that. So I thank him very much for that. I had a feeling the cat would show up. Well, of course, it wouldn't be cat. It wouldn't be this Wednesday without trouble. Oh, and here he is. In fact, hold on.
No.
All right. Hey, you. Hey. Here we are. Yep. There he is. Oh, you want to say something? You're probably going to attack the mic, aren't you? All right, you're going down. There you go. And here comes Miss Mobley too. Okay, I think we have run late. I mean, after all, we are getting on to an hour and a half here, but I can only very much appreciate everybody. Oh, taste test. Okay, looks like we're not done yet. I'm sorry. Okay, back to here. And that means, yeah, of course we could, yeah, it really wouldn't be fair if I didn't cut it. I do apologize for that, folks. So, oh yeah. Check this out, shall we? It is definitely a thin crust pizza, but it's done nicely underneath. So I guess there's only one thing to do. And that, of course, would be to chow down. That's one thing the guy always says on his channel, too. Let's eat this thing. Mm. Mm-hmm. Mm. Oh, yeah. Mm. Mm. Ah, pizza. Mm. Mm-hmm. I really don't have any complaints. It's definitely a thin crust pizza, but this thing is miles and miles ahead of what you might get, say, in the frozen pizza section. That's for sure. Okay. Having said that, though, I think we were about all done because we are running late here tonight. So, even so. Oh yeah, the pizza cutter, and then after this, we'll be done. This is a Dexter brand, no less. Yeah. Yes. Flea market find. When I came across this, yeah, it was again one of those things I could not resist, especially since Dexter is a really, really good brand. This is going to last far longer than a dollar store pizza cutter, so I'm quite happy with that. And having said that, as I said, I'm going to do what I can, really. We'll get more into cast iron next week. I mean, I do appreciate everybody. I hope you enjoyed our look at Stumpy, for instance, the BSR number 14. Next week, we'll delve more into cast iron, probably cast iron history, and see what we come up with. But until then, as always, it's really your participation, folks, that makes this so much fun. And I very, very much appreciate everybody who comes back every week, especially since I am not asking for Patreon donations or subscriptions or anything like that. This has been a hobby, and it's still a hobby, and I very much enjoy it, and I'm doing it for the fun. And you are really a big reason why this is so much fun. So thank you once again for everything, everyone. And having said all that, well, what can I say now? But good night again, everybody. And we'll see you next Wednesday.